Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we're going to talk about keeping our realities aligned and what happens when they are not aligned, especially when new ones come in and they're not aligned. We have hopes and then they're not aligned. So what is an aligned reality? One that makes us happy, one that we enjoy being part of, one that's balanced. I'm giving 100%, the other partner in the relationship's giving 100%, and this is not just romantic relationships. We're talking about business relationships, we're talking about friendships, we're really talking about any kind of interaction, whether it be a 5-minute interaction, whether it be a 5-year interaction. What is the level of engagement doesn't really matter, the length of the engagement, it's more the respect and vibration of the engagement. So we can get into these things all the time, right? We get into something and it starts off super happy. It could be a new job, it could be a new relationship, and it starts off where it feels like, yeah, everything seems to be 100%. I'm giving 100%. They're giving 100%. Everything's happy. Then it can go a little farther, and you're going to find that once you catch on to how this works, you'll start not even playing in the realities at all when they're not aligned, because you know how they're going to end. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I dated a guy years ago, and I was crazy about this guy. Absolutely crazy about him. But he was kind of lazy in a sense, a little bit lazy energy, kind of a lazy dater. He started out really gung-ho, and then he would just kind of not. So let's say we started here, and then the vibration of the reality was here, and now it's kind of here. We weren't really matching in a sense, because he didn't want to put a lot of effort in. So here's me trying to put all the effort in. Don't worry, I'll do all the communication. I'll make sure I book the tickets. I'll do everything. Don't worry about it. I'll do it. Well, after a lot of time of not doing it, it's not aligned anymore. It's not balanced. One person's doing all the work. It's not fun anymore, so it's out of alignment. So anything out of alignment will crash. Whether it crashes today, whether it crashes tomorrow, whether it crashes 3 months down the road and you go through 3 months of misery with it, or you go down with the Titanic, it will crash. Now with this relationship, I would try, and I say try because that's really not an empowered word, but at that point I would try to say, no, I want you here. I want to be at this vibration with this reality. I don't want to be down here where we are. And, he'd try it, but he couldn't hold it. And what was happening was I would drop back down to his level of effort, in a sense, of what he was putting out, and I would start over reciprocating. I was overdoing to try to keep it going. Now, one of the main reasons we'll do this when we get into these timelines with people is we are too attached to the relationship, or to the business, to the work relationship, to whatever it is. We're too attached to it. So we don't want to actually let it go. But what we don't realize is it's going to go anyway, because it's not aligned. It can't survive. Because at some point, really what they're trying to teach us is don't do that. Because it's my lack of self-worth, it's my lack of my value to continue to let that happen over and over again. So that's my issue. That wasn't really his, in a sense. I was trying to work through that, and I was allowing that. So what happened? Well, I went through a relationship for 2, 3, 4 months where that happened, and then of course it ended, and I could have spared myself a lot of that pain if I had just collapsed it and let the whole reality go, knowing he wasn't as invested in the reality as I was. He wasn't showing me the level of respect I wanted to see. Now, at that time, I couldn't really hold the higher vibration either, because it's too much of a fear of losing the person. So I was trying, but I couldn't hold it. And even though he was kind of trying, he couldn't hold it either, so we'd always kind of go back down. So when you start trying to align realities, a few things to remember. You'll know when they're not in balance because you're doing all the work. You're the one, you're carrying the reality. And for some amounts of time, I will carry a reality if I feel like it's appropriate for the bigger picture. And sometimes we will do this, and you'll know when that feels appropriate for you. You'll feel like, okay, for a time, I might give a little more just to see if this reality can align. So I've had some realities, and that can be even in work, where you kind of see, you might give a little bit more to see if you can align the reality. I was doing a talk, I don't know, a couple years ago, and I was doing the talk for free to, I can't remember who the group was, but it seemed like they kept wanting more. More free stuff, more time, and then all these things they wanted me to do. So I'm doing everything. I'm carrying the entire reality. So I closed the reality, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. I require a certain amount of respect. And if I'm not getting that, then I don't do this anymore. I realized by doing that, I was showing I didn't have any self-worth for what I was doing, the product I was putting out, or myself. So I wasn't doing that. So now I was doing this. I'm here. You want to come up here, we can have a reality. If you want to stay down here, then we can't. So if there's no integrity, there's no respect. We're not talking human integrity. We're talking soul integrity. We're talking respect, communication, and integrity. And if your realities don't have that, they're going to crash. So what do? Well, you can try to align them. And how you do this will differ between how much you appreciate the person. So if the person is someone you really care about, and you really want it to work, but don't get attached to it because it might not. And what I found is, if anything starts out not aligned, like you start out doing more work than the other person, it's very hard later to get it into alignment. So the minute it skews, stop it there and try to get it into alignment. But you can't be so attached to it you won't close the whole reality out and say, we're just not going to have it right now. You know, I'm not going back down. I'm going to hold the bar here, and that's where I'll be. So you can talk to the person, you can set them down and tell them what you require out of a respectful relationship, no matter who it is. You require the same investment that you're giving. Now, they might say they can do it, and you can give it some time and see if they do. But when you see it's not working, you can close the reality out. You don't have it anymore. Now, with people you don't know very well, or you're kind of just starting the reality and you're seeing kind of the effort level they're putting in, and you feel like you're starting to carry it, sometimes when I see that start, I'll just kind of pull out of the reality a little bit and see what the other participant does. If they will then start putting in more effort, and if they don't, 9 times out of 10, what I've found with a lot of them, the reality closes out because they weren't putting in the effort anyway. So eventually they get tired of trying, and they didn't care that much to begin with. So a lot of times we're feeding a lot of this stuff because we don't feel like we're worth more. So the important thing to remember is, when it's out of alignment, try to get it back in as quickly as possible. If not, let the whole thing go. Now remember, just because we close a reality out doesn't mean we can't open it back up again with that partner, that friend, that business at another time. You can always check to see. Anytime I close a reality out with someone, I'm open to a new reality with that person the next day, but I'll check and see where we are again. If we're still not in alignment, if that person is still not being respectful, I'll close it out again and say, no, it's still not where it needs to be. So sometimes it's the end of the encounter altogether, and you might never ever see these people again. Sometimes you will. It'll come back around again, and you check to see where it is. Don't bring the old stuff back in. Don't assume they're going to do the same thing. Don't assume the reality will collapse. But when you see it, and it looks like it's starting to wane, try to align it. If you can align it, close it out. And you can do that from a loving, respectful place. You don't have to be angry, just it's not aligned. And the biggest thing you're going to deal with on this one is being attached to it. When you're attached to it, it's really hard to be tempted to kind of put up with a lesser reality in a sense, because you don't want to lose the opportunity, the person, whatever it is. Okay, everybody, that went a little longer than I wanted it to. I wish everyone the most aligned realities. Remember, it's up to us to align them. And respect, honor, integrity, communication, and keep practicing the art of intuition.